If you're serious about building a successful tech career, then this is your golden ticket. We're not going to get bogged down into the technical jargon. Instead, we're diving into the stuff that really moves the needle. The insider knowledge that can skyrocket your career. By the end of this video, you'll have a roadmap to tech success that took me a decade to figure out, and I also reveal the 3 biggest mistakes that are holding most people back in their tech careers. The question is, are you making any of them? Now, before we get started, check out my weekly tech newsletter where I share free resources, tutorials, bootcamps, and so much more helping you navigate this tech world. All right, let's talk about the first biggest lesson that I learned. Communication is everything. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, great, another lecture on communication. But stick with me here, because this isn't your average pep talk. You see, when most people think about communication, they focus on speaking. But here is the secret. It's all about listening first. Now think about it. How can you communicate if you can't listen? This was my superpower. Sure, I was shy, young, and not super confident at first, but I made damn sure my thoughts and ideas were heard even at such a young age. And there's no magic course or formula to become a great communicator. You've got to jump in and do it. And let me tell you, the best people that I've worked with weren't always the smartest or the most technical. Nope, they were the ones who could talk to anyone, from the big bosses to their teammates. And now here is where things get interesting. In tech, you're dealing with people from all over the world. I'm talking Spain, India, Sweden, America, Germany, Finland, you name it. Each person has their own style, their own way of talking. So you have to be a chameleon, match their tone, their style. And it's like learning a new language, but instead of words, you are learning people. Now, my first year, I was in IT operations. Systems were crashing left, right, and center. Alarms were blaring. We'd huddle in what we call the war room. Picture it as a bunch of stressed out engineers, bosses, and business people all trying to fix a massive problem affecting millions of customers. And guess who had to lead these sessions? Yes, yours truly. I had to listen to everyone, come up with a plan, and then even explain it to non-technical folks that got it, so they would understand it. Now, if you can be technical and communicate well, then you are unstoppable. It is rare, and that's why it's so valuable. We'll get into the tech stuff very soon, but remember this, mastering communication is your ticket to endless opportunities. And stick around, because before we wrap up, I'm going to share my ABC method. It's my secret weapon for staying sharp and having job offers roll in like you wouldn't believe. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. All right, let's talk about my next big lesson. Be a problem solver and not a problem bringer. Trust me, this is a game changer. Be the person people trust to solve problems, not the one always bringing the bad news. And you know what most newbies do? They run to their managers with a laundry list of problems and 0 solutions. Big mistake. Your manager's already juggling a million things. Instead, try this. Go to them with a problem, sure, but also tell them what you're doing about it. When you're working on projects and talking to business users, focus on understanding the problem that they want solved, not what they think the solution should look like. These are 2 very different things, and most people get this wrong. And I'll let you in on a little secret from my consulting days. Clients would always come to us saying, we want this and we want that. But here is the thing. It's not their job to come up with solutions. It's their job to tell us their problems. And it's our job to design and build the solutions to solve their problems. Now, always focus on the problem that you are trying to solve. Don't try and jump in to solutionize too quickly. It's like trying to build a house without knowing what kind of foundation that you're working with. You've got to dig deep. ask questions, and really understand what is going on. Trust me, most of the time, clients don't even know what they really want. I was once a lead technical architect on a multi-million-dollar project. The client came to us saying that they want iPads to scan documents and store them digitally. Sounds simple, right? Well, you are wrong. Here is what was really going on. They had millions of paper documents stuffed in a warehouse, making it a nightmare to find anything when they needed it. So they thought, hey, let's just take a bunch of photos with iPads and upload them somewhere on the internet in a storage system. But here is where understanding the real problem saved the day. I dug deeper and found out they had no Wi-Fi in over 100 locations where these documents were stored. No Wi-Fi, no iPad solution. What they really needed was connectivity first, full network and fiber rollout to get the internet access going. Do you see how understanding the real problem completely changed the solution? You can't solve a problem until you know what the real problem is. It's like trying to hit a target in the dark. So before you start dreaming up of solutions, make sure you are crystal clear on the problem. That's how you become the problem solver that everyone wants on their team. All right, let's talk about something that can absolutely turbocharge your career, and that is finding a mentor. Now, I'm not talking about some guru that you follow on social media. I'm talking about a real in the trenches mentor inside of your own company. Now imagine you're navigating the corporate maze, facing challenges left and right. Wouldn't it be great to have a secret weapon? And that's what a good mentor is. They're like your personal GPS for your career, guiding you through the twists and turns and connecting you with the right people. Now, I didn't just have one mentor. I had several throughout my career. And let me tell you, I was picky. I always made sure my mentors were senior leaders, the kind of people others respected and looked up to. These weren't just any leaders. They were well-connected ones. The ones who could open doors that you didn't even know existed. These big leaders, they're often more than happy to help you. I know it sounds crazy, right? But it's true. Now, there is a catch. You've got to be willing to do two things: listen and take feedback. Because all of these leaders love talking about themselves and their experience. And let me break it down for you. When I say listen, I mean really listen. Not just nodding your head while thinking about what you're going to have for lunch. I'm talking about active, engaged listening. These mentors have been where you are. They face the challenges that you are facing, and they've come out on top. Their experiences are gold mines of information if you are willing to dig deep. And the feedback that they give you, that's where the real growth happens. Well, look, nobody likes hearing about their weaknesses or their mistakes, but the ability to take feedback, to really absorb it and use it to improve, that's what separates the good from the great. I remember this one time early in my career, a mentor of mine told me straight up that my presentation skills were terrible. Ouch, right? But instead of getting defensive, I took it on board. I worked on it, practiced, got more feedback, and you know what? It's now become one of my strongest skills, because presentation also includes communication. So find that mentor. Look for someone that you admire, someone in a position that you would like to be someday. Don't be shy, reach out to them, because most people are flattered to be asked. And when you do get that mentor, soak up every bit of wisdom that they offer. Trust me, it's like having the cheat codes for your career. And remember, in the tech world, it's not just about what you know, it's who you know and who's willing to guide you. A good mentor can be the difference between a job and a career, between being good and being great. So go out there and find your career GPS. Now let's talk about a secret weapon that doesn't cost a dime, that can really skyrocket your career. Observation. I'm talking about becoming a professional people watcher, but in a totally non-creepy way, of course. Now imagine this. It's your first big meeting. You are nervous, palms are sweating, knees weak, no, I'm joking, trying to remember everything you've learned. But here is what I want you to do. Take a deep breath and just watch. That's right, become a fly on the wall. In my early years, I was like a sponge, soaking up everything around me. I'd watch the senior folks like a hawk. How do they carry themselves? What words do they use? How do they handle tough questions? It's like having front row seats to a masterclass in professional behavior. And let me tell you about this one VP that I used to work with. This guy was smooth. In meetings, he had this way of disagreeing with people, and that made them feel like he was actually agreeing with them. It was an art. I'd sit there barely saying a word and just watching him work his magic. And you know what? I learned more from those silent observations than from any other training session. This is not just about the big shots. Watch everyone. That quiet engineer who always seems to calm down heated debates. The project manager who can explain complex ideas so simply. Take notes. Now, I'm not saying you should be a silent statue in meetings, but before you jump in guns blazing, take time to observe. Watch how people interact, how they handle stress, how they celebrate wins, because it gives you the behind the scenes look at the unwritten rules of your workplace. Now, here is a tip. Don't just observe in meetings. Watch how people act in the hallways, at lunch, even waiting for the elevator. You'd be amazed at what you can learn about office dynamics from these casual moments. Remember, in tech, your technical skills might get you in the door, but it's these soft skills, how you communicate, how you carry yourself, that will shoot you up the ladder. And the best part is that you can start learning these skills right now just by opening up your eyes and really paying attention. Now, of course, it's a lot harder now as mostly people are remote or want to work remotely, but whenever you are in the office, make sure you try and observe. All right, let's talk about something that will make you unstoppable in tech. Mastering your technical skills. Now, I know what you're thinking. Duh, of course I need to have technical skills. But hear me out. This isn't just about learning to code or understanding cloud architecture. It's about becoming a technical chameleon. You see, software is the engine that drives our world. It's everywhere, from the app that you use to order coffee to the systems that keep the planes in the air. And it's evolving faster than you can say the JavaScript framework. So here is the deal. You've got to stay hungry for knowledge. I remember when I first started out, I thought I knew it all because I knew a couple of programming languages. Boy, was I in for a wake-up call. I quickly realized that in tech, if you're not learning, then you are dying. So I made it my mission to always be picking up new skills. Now, it's not just about collecting skills like Pokemon cards, it's about understanding how these skills fit together. How does that new cloud service interact with the old database system? How can you use AI to optimize that clunky legacy code? That's where the real value is. If you want to know which tech skills to learn, click the link in my bio because I made a video specifically on that. Now let's talk about navigating different work environments. This is where things get really interesting. You see, not all tech companies are created equal. Working for a scrappy startup is a whole different ballgame from a big tech giant or a government agency. I've worked across the spectrum: professional services, public companies, public sector, private sector, you name it. And let me tell you, each one is like stepping into a completely different world. In a startup, you might be wearing 5 different hats before lunch. 1 minute you're coding, the next you're talking to a customer, then you're ordering office supplies. It's crazy, but it's exciting. And it's super, super fast. Then you've got your big tech companies. These are like well-oiled machines. Processes for everything, teams for every function. Your job might be super specialized, but you're part of something massive. And don't get me started on the public sector, working on government projects. That's a whole other level of complexity. You've got regulations, legacy systems, and bureaucracy that will make your head spin. But the impact that you can have is huge. The key is to understand that value looks different in each of these environments. Now, in a startup, speed and flexibility is your king. In a big corporation, it might be all about scalability. In the public sector, security and compliance are the top dogs. Now, I remember this one time. I moved from a nimble fintech startup to a big government project. Talk about culture shock. I went from move fast and break things to measure twice and cut once, after getting approval in triplicates. It was frustrating at first, but then I realized that it was an opportunity to learn a whole new way of working. So here is my advice. Wherever you are, be a sponge. Soak up the culture, understand the priorities, learn the lingo, and most importantly, figure out how your technical skills can best serve that specific environment that you are in. Because your tech skills, they are transferable. And remember, in tech, it's not just about what you know, it's about how you apply what you know in different contexts. So master your technical skills, absolutely, but also master the art of adapting those skills to wherever you find yourself. Do that and trust me, you'll be the tech chameleon that everyone wants on their team. You'll be able to slide into any environment and start adding value from day one. And in this world, in this tech industry, that's worth its weight in gold or Bitcoin, if that's a little bit more your style. All right, let's talk about something that's going to blow your mind. Yes, you are in the driver's seat of your career. It's not your manager, it's not HR, it's not some corporate ladder, it is you. And here is the hard truth that I learned early on. Nobody cares about your career as much as you do. Not even that boss that you think is so great. Sure, they may want you to succeed, but at the end of the day, you are the one who has to live with your career choices. I remember when I was a few years into my tech journey, feeling stuck and waiting for my manager to hand me my next big opportunity. Now, newsflash, it never came. That's when it hit me. I needed to take the wheel. So here is what I want you to do. Start thinking of yourself as the CEO of you. Your career is your business and you need to run it like one. That means setting goals, seeking opportunities, and yes, sometimes making those tough decisions. And one of those tough decisions is changing jobs. I know, it is scary, but listen up. In tech, staying put can be a career suicide. The industry just moves way too fast, and you've got to keep up with the pace. Now, I'm not saying to job hop every 6 months, but don't also get too comfortable either. I made some of my biggest career leaps and salary jumps by switching companies every 2 to 3 years. Each move was a chance to learn new skills, take on bigger challenges, and negotiate a sweeter and bigger paycheck. Now, remember that time that I told you about starting as an apprentice? Well, I didn't stay for an apprentice for long. I kept my eyes open for opportunities inside and outside of the company. When I saw a chance to level up, you best believe that I took it. You can't wait for these opportunities to fall in your lap. You have to go and create them. That might mean taking on extra projects, learning new skills in your free time, or even making a lateral move to position yourself for future growth. And don't be afraid to have those honest conversations with your manager about your career goals. If they can't help you achieve them, well, that's valuable information for you as well. Taking control of your career isn't always easy. It does mean stepping out of your comfort zone and taking risks, and sometimes making tough choices. But trust me, it's worth it, because at the end of the day, the person who cares most about your success is staring back at you in the mirror. So starting today, I want you to think of yourself as a CEO of your career. Set your goals, make your plans, and don't be afraid to make the bold moves. Now let's talk about something that's going to change your tech career: networking. Now, this is not about the classic, networking, suits, salespeople, going to events. That's not what I'm talking about here. In tech, your network is your net worth, because the tech world is small. I mean, seriously small. Everyone knows everyone, or at least knows someone who knows someone. Most jobs in tech aren't found on job boards. They're found through those connections. I've seen entire teams move from one company to another because their boss got a new gig and brought them along. I remember this one time I was at a tech conference, just chatting with this guy at the coffee station. It turns out he was the CTO at a hot new startup. Fast forward 6 months, and guess who's calling me about a job opportunity? That's right, it's the CTO coffee guy that likes flat whites. And it wasn't just any job. It was a role that wasn't even advertised yet. But here is the thing about networking. It's not about collecting business cards. It's about building real relationships. And it starts way before that you need a job. So how do you do it? Firstly, you need to get out there. Start creating content, start posting on blogs, join online communities, go to hackathons, contribute to open source projects. Basically, put yourself where the tech people are, but don't just show up. You need to engage, ask questions, share your own experiences, Help others when you can. Be the person people remember for being helpful and interested, not the one desperately handing out resumes. And don't just network with people at your own level. Connect with people who are where you want to be. They've got the insights, the connections, and maybe even the opportunities that you're looking for. Remember, networking isn't just about finding your next job, it's about creating a support system, finding mentors, and staying on top of the industry trends, and yes, occasionally hearing about the perfect opportunity before anyone else. And let me tell you something. Some of the best opportunities in my career came from the people that I met years and years before. Connections I made when I was just starting out ended up being instrumental down the line. So start building your network today. All right, let's have some real talk about something that we often take for granted. Working in tech is a privilege, and I mean a serious pinch yourself every morning kind of privilege. We definitely take it for granted because think about it. We are in an industry where wearing flip-flops to work isn't just accepted, it's actually practically encouraged. Where going to the office might mean settling in your favorite coffee shop with your laptop open, where you can literally change the world from your couch. I remember my first tech job after that apprenticeship grind. I walked into this open plan office with beanbags, free snacks, and a ping pong table. I thought I died and gone to Silicon Valley heaven. Now, the real privilege, it's the impact that we get to make. We are building the future. The app that you're working on, it could be the next big thing that changes how people live. The code that you're debugging, it might be keeping someone's life savings secure. And let's not forget about the paychecks. I'm not saying money is everything, but let's be real, it sure doesn't hurt. I remember the first time that I saw my tech salary. I had to double check to make sure they hadn't added an extra zero by mistake. But with great privilege comes great responsibility. And yes, I just quoted Spider-Man. Do something about it. We've got it good in tech, and that means that we've got a duty to use our skills for the good, to build tech that helps people and not harms them, to create inclusive workplaces, and to mentor the next generation. So every morning, before you fire up your laptop, take a moment to appreciate where you are. Be grateful for the flexibility, the impact, and the income. And then ask yourself, how can I make the most of this privilege today? Remember, not everyone gets to do what we do, so let's not waste it. Let's embrace it, be grateful for it, and use it to make a real difference. Because at the end of the day, working in tech isn't just a job, it's an opportunity to shape the future. If there's one thing that you need to know, it's this. Change is the only constant. In tech, what's hot today might be obsolete tomorrow. Remember when everyone was going crazy about the Google Glass? Well, yeah, me neither. The point is, this industry moves fast. Blink and you might miss the next big thing, cloud engineering. So here is the deal. You've got to be adaptable, because if you're not, you'll be left in the dust faster than you can say blockchain. But here is where it gets interesting. Instead of freaking out about all of this change, I want you to embrace it. Think of your career, think of your life as a series of chapters, each one with its own story, its own challenges, and its own wins. And let me give you a personal example. I started out in what I call my apprentice chapter. I was the new kid, soaking up knowledge like a sponge, making coffee runs, and dreaming big. But it was tough, but man, was it exciting. Now I am this internet tech entrepreneur. In this new chapter, I'm running my own businesses, calling the shots, facing a whole new set of challenges that I've never faced before. It's a completely different story, but it's just as thrilling. The beauty of thinking in chapters is that it keeps things fresh. If you're scared to take risks, remember it's just one part of your story. The most successful people in tech aren't the ones who stuck to one thing their whole life. They're the ones who keep reinventing themselves, who ride the waves of change instead of getting wiped out by them. So how do you do this? You have to firstly stay curious. You want to keep learning, and you don't want to get too comfortable. If you find yourself thinking that you figured it all out, that's your cue to shake things up. Read the tech news, play with new tools, take on projects that scare you a little bit, and most importantly, don't be afraid to pivot when the industry zigs or zags. Remember, in tech, your career is a marathon and not a sprint. It's about evolving, adapting, and growing. It's about writing a story that's uniquely yours, with plot twists and turns that keep things interesting. All right, let's rapid fire through some insider tips that I've picked up over the years. First off, these consultancies are everywhere these days. But let me tell you that most of these consultancies have no clue on what they are doing. The real gems, they are the small, specialized agencies like my own cloud security business. We know our stuff inside out. And here is something crucial. Always have something going on alongside your main job. I was hustling with side projects, building my YouTube channel. It keeps you sharp and opens up new opportunities. Now, this might sound a little bit weird, but always stay interviewing, even when you are happy in your job. It keeps your skills fresh, it keeps your skills sharp, and you never know what might just come up. When you are young, especially early on in your career, work your ass off. I'm talking long hours, tough projects, because it pays off big time down the road. And let me tell you about the public sector. I wholeheartedly believe that where I am today is because of the long hours I did, the weekends, the night shifts, all built me up to have this tenacity, this hard-working ethic of what I am doing today. Next, you always want to be growing and picking up new skills. If your job isn't helping you do that, then it's time to move on. Find somewhere that pushes you to learn. Also, don't get hung up on job titles or grade bandings. They might look fancy on your LinkedIn, but trust me, they mean nothing when you're out in the real world going into new companies. And last but not least, if you want to make more money, and to be honest, who doesn't, be prepared to change jobs frequently. It's often the fastest way to bump your paycheck. I've done it many, many times. All right, that was a decade of tech experience and tech lessons piled into one simple video. If you like this video, then subscribe. If you want to build real world cloud skills, then check out my Cloud Engineer Academy linked below in the description of this video. If not, then thank you for watching and I'll see you on the next one.